On again, off again relationships. Many of us are guilty of allowing the wrong man to come in and out of our lives. The history shared, memories, time invested. But is it ever really worth it? Sadie Hartley was a successful single mother of two when she met firefighter Ian Johnston in 2005. Both would soon be in their 50s, with Sadie blossoming into a successful medical communications director. The first 5 years of Sadie and Ian's relationship was a long-distance one, Ian being on the tail end of his firefighting career, followed his passion for the slopes and took a job at the Chill Factor indoor ski slope in Manchester, England, becoming a ski instructor. During this time, Sadie moved nearer to Ian, and their relationship became serious. While Ian claimed to have loved Sadie very deeply, he was documented describing their relationship as a cocoa and kindles kind of union. In other words, relaxing, calming, familiar, but perhaps a tad bit boring and routine. But along with Ian's humdrum relationship came a woman of means, who afforded him the ability to live a lifestyle he certainly wouldn't have been able to live without her. A woman with a close-knit family, Sadie was the third of 7 siblings. And let me tell you, Sadie was a hustler, a go-getter. Coming from a family with modest means, she obtained her biology degree from Brighton University, then worked her way up the corporate ladder at Janssen Pharmaceutical Company. It was during this time in her life that Sadie married Gary Hartley, a baller in his own right. Gary was an advertising director. They had 2 children together, but the marriage ended in divorce. Sadie threw her time and attention to getting her own business off the ground, and by 2000 she became the co-founder of Hartley Taylor Medical Communications. Sadie took lavish holidays with successful millionaires, she drove a Porsche, and she loved her career. In 2012, Ian met fellow co-worker Sarah Williams. Sarah was 30 years old and Ian was 50. They first began flirting under the guise that Sarah was interested in taking ski lessons. But after exchanging phone numbers, the only lesson Sarah got was in between them sheets.
Hey, what up, girl?
Sarah and Ian began a hot and steamy affair, full of nasty sex he wasn't getting from Sadie, and even nastier text messages looking forward to the next rendezvous.
Where you lay up? Where you at?
Then things took a turn. Ian saw it, he felt it. The costs coming due for his hot tryst with Sarah, and he realized he needed to break things off with her. He's documented as referring to Sarah as delusional. Their situationship was full of toxicity. For example, Ian took a trip with Sadie. Sarah took the same trip and stayed at the same hotel at the same time. Her sugar daddy, we'll get to him in a minute, later attested to the fact that he funded the trip but at the time had no idea she insisted on this vacation because she knew Ian would be there with Sadie. It was during this time Ian called it quits with Sarah. She'd gone too damn far, and at Ian's age, I'm sure Coco and a Kindle sounded pretty good at that point. In 2014, after another period of off again, Ian and Sadie rekindled their relationship and moved into a big, beautiful home together, and things seemed to finally be on the upward swing for them both. Unfortunately, bowing out gracefully wasn't on Sarah's agenda, and Ian wasn't wise enough to completely cut contact with her. Sarah just can't let Ian go, and it pisses her off to no end that he thinks that he can just sail off into the sunset with Sadie. Her ego just couldn't take it. If she was emotionally suffering, they all had to. So what does Sarah do? She sends Sadie an anonymous letter telling her all about the fun time she'd been having with Ian. Sadie flew into a rage and demanded that Ian tell her who this confessional was from. He owned up to the culprit being Sarah and got her on the phone. Sarah and Sadie had words, but this didn't end Sadie's relationship with Ian. They still on that back and forth, nor did it make Ian stop accepting Sarah's phone calls and text messages. If Sarah was anything, she was definitely consistent. At the age of 17, she began a multi-year affair with 57-year-old David Hardwick. This was her sugar daddy who took her to stay at the same hotel as Ian and Sadie that time. According to the BBC News, Mr. Hardwick did confirm that he paid for 12 holidays with Sarah annually and gave her £75,000 down payment for a house, as well as a £320 weekly spending allowance. That is equivalent to $95,000 down payment and about $500 a week in spending money. In her 20s, Sarah had an affair with martial arts instructor Somipat Siddhiwit Jana, also known as Master A. Once Master A had his fill of the BS and the drama, he ended the affair. And what did Sarah do? That's right, she whipped up an anonymous letter to the missus, even going so far as claiming to be pregnant and including an ultrasound scan she was able to get her hands on from one of her homegirls. By 2014, Sarah and Ian no longer saw one another in person, but they continued sexting and talking on the phone. Ian just couldn't muster up the strength to block this woman out of his life. While he was using her to keep his libido on a virtual simmer, Sarah and her bestie Katrina were plotting to murder Sadie. Now, for whatever reason, Katrina decides to journal about the murder plot that will take place 17 months later. CCTV footage captured Katrina Walsh traveling to Germany to purchase the taser Sarah Williams would later use on Sadie. They also purchased burner phones, a car, knife, and men's boots in an attempt to throw forensics off their trail. 1 week before the murder, the two women did a dry run to stake out Sadie's home. Walsh, pretending to be a flower deliverer, presented chrysanthemums to Sadie at her door. On January 14th, 2016, Sarah returned. CCTV has her car parked near Sadie's home. She tased and stabbed Sadie 41 times. After Sadie's co-worker raised the alarm that she was missing, police found Sadie the following night, dead. Where was Ian? Out of the country on a ski trip. Upon questioning, he told the police that it had to be his deranged side chick, Sarah Williams. During the investigation, Katrina Walsh lied and claimed to be sleeping while the murder took place. But CCTV showed Sarah meeting Katrina at a nearby car park where Sarah got into Katrina's car and was driven home by her. Walsh took Sarah's bloody clothes and murder weapon. Proving to be the weakest link, she later took police to a farm where she had attempted to destroy Sarah's bloody clothes, the murder weapon, and those damn diaries that I don't even know why they existed in the first place. With everything in decent enough condition to obtain DNA evidence, both Katrina and Sarah were arrested. Sadie's family immediately turned on Ian. The court of public opinion blamed him for Sadie's death, even though there was no evidence of him playing any part in the killing. Ian was heartbroken when within a mere 24 hours of Sadie's body being found, her family not only put his ass out of Sadie's home, but they attested to the fact that his name was nowhere in Sadie's last will and testament.
We'd reached a point in life where we wanted to settle down, and we were first and foremost friends. And I miss her like you won't believe. I've spent 8 months now, every day, questioning my motives of why I texted Sarah back. Some people may feel that was made me culpable, in that texting Sarah in some way has led to Sarah murdering Sadie. I'm told that this planning of this murder was 17, 18 months ago. And that in that time, I've questioned myself as to, was there anything I should have spotted or could have spotted? And of course, since the inquiries happened, the things have come to light and we're able to track it back. So things like my alarm going off in my house, and that the keys had been copied or stolen and copied and cut, and my goodness, So I don't feel responsible for any of that. If people feel that in some way I've let them down, that I am responsible by texting, I'm profoundly sorry for that, and I'll regret it forever. And I never for 1 minute believed that a few chuck away ridiculous texts could ever lead to such atrocious events and such unimaginable loss for not just me, I know that, but for Sadie's family, her kids, our friends. I'd like to think I've been a good guy most of it. I've always tried to help people, so I'm not going to let this define me. But it's going to take a while to get back onto that line. I want to be able to get away from this and return to the things that I'm good at. So far, I'm exhausted. I've hardly slept in months, and I just want to get to be reasonably strong. I know this will never ever go away. I don't want it to go away. With a sense of grief and loss and the pressures that all this is bringing, just have to end, because I can't endure this forever.
Katrina Walsh was sentenced to 25 years. Sarah Williams was sentenced to a minimum of 30 years. Walsh is believed to be serving her sentence at Newhall Prison in Flockton, West Yorkshire. It is not public knowledge where Sarah Williams is serving her time. You did not deserve this, Sadie. Rest in peace.
On January the 14th, our lives were destroyed by my mum, and she was taken away from us in the most brutal and shocking way. Her death has left a huge void, and the last few months have been the hardest we could have ever had imagined. Mum was a much-loved sister, aunt, friend, and friend to many. She was an inspiration to everyone around her, an adventurer who lit up the room. She was perfect, There was nothing bad about her that anybody could say. She was a lovely, fun, trustworthy, intelligent, kind, loving woman who cared about everyone. She was an amazing inspiration, highly regarded in the medical community for many years, and through no fault of her own, has been taken away from us. She's going to miss many of the things in life, in her life, and was really looking forward to Charlotte and Rob's forthcoming wedding and future grandchildren. She will miss birthdays, Christmases, and many milestones we as a family will go through. Our lives will never be the same again. We may have received some justice with the conviction and sentencing of Sarah Williams and Katrina Walsh, but it will never be enough. It will never bring our mum back. We've had to go through a range of emotions, and whilst to everyone else today it may appear as the end, for her family and friends this will never end.